Hey everybody, hopefully you can hear me okay. I want to take a few minutes to make sure video and audio is all sounding okay before I start delving into stuff. Chat does appear to be working and loading on my computer, which is always important, so I can see your guys' questions and everything as they come in. I do think there is a slight delay inherently on the stream though, so if it takes me a few minutes to get to your question or see it, please let me know, and don't be afraid to ask it again so it pops up in the feed just to make sure of things. Delving into stuff. Okay, I want to make sure my computer's muted too so we don't get any feedback. But in the meantime, thanks everyone for joining me today. Basically, some things have been changing, and we're getting out of COVID and being so isolated. Todd and I are playtesting a lot of games together again, and I really like talking about game design and development. So I thought it would be fun to try and stream more, or do more video content, where we can pull back the curtain, if you will, on Rock Manor Games development process at least, and how we make games and test them and run through them, etc. So I'm just going to do one more check. If anyone could just type something in the chat just so I can verify that it's working, that'd be great. Thumbs up or anything about audio being okay, and then I'll start talking about Set a Watch Forsaken Isles and Doomed Run. Hopefully everyone here is excited about it. I certainly don't want these videos to be exclusively about Set a Watch in the future. I want to cover a lot of the stuff we're working on, even earlier stuff. So, okay, thank you. I'm starting to get some of the thumbs and the chats turned up. So with that, let's start talking about Forsaken Isles and Doomed Run, because we've been working on it pretty hard. I've printed some stuff out that I can show you guys in real life. We haven't cut it yet or anything, but I printed some stuff out, and then I also can switch over to my computer to start talking about stuff. So I'm going to start with that because you guys can tell me, but I think you'll see it a little bit better if I bring things up on my second screen here. So I'm going to start with Forsaken Isles because it's pretty easy to talk about that one. If you've played Set a Watch before, it's pretty straightforward. So Forsaken Isles is going to be a nautically themed box, and much like your other Set a Watch boxes, Forsaken Isles will come in a box like this with a player board and characters in it and everything you need to play that particular set of monsters and locations, all contained in one box. And in that box, you will find new heroes. And one of the new things we're exploring in this game, and you'll see on these player boards here, is that we're manipulating the creature deck a little bit more with a lot of these characters. So I'm going to start by talking with the Corsair. We sort of see her as the captain of the ship. Since the locations in this game are nautically and island themed, our idea is sort of you're taking a ship from island to island, tracking down the creatures and Unhallowed that you're facing. So the Corsair we sort of see as the main shipwright of the group. She is a D6 character, melee only, and you can see that her camp ability is shuffle a dynamite card into the creature deck. And what that dynamite card does is when it pops up and explodes, it will defeat creatures adjacent to it. So you can reveal a pair of dynamite, and then you can use it to detonate and defeat creatures on either side of things. I'm going to scroll down here. Hold on a second. Next up, we have the Fire Sorceress. The Fire Sorceress is a D8 range character. I hope that for all those Wizard fans out there, I hope she'll be a good alternative. She manipulates, and a lot of her abilities are based off of the campfire level itself. So a little more of an advanced character because, as any of you know who have played the game, when you have low campfire, you can't see as many creatures in the line, and that can be to your detriment. So it's important to make sure that fire and that reveal level is high enough so you can see the creatures that are heading into camp. So with the Fire Sorceress, hold on a second, I'm actually going to put up, the delay on the chat is annoying me, so I'm going to open up YouTube and pop out the chat. If you give me a second here, just so I can, it's definitely coming in faster than my software. So I'm just going to put that up so I don't miss anything that you guys are saying. And then we'll pop back. So the Fire Sorceress's camp ability is, if she happens to have spent a lot of the firewood to decrease that campfire reveal level, she can spend a die to make sure that you're seeing, at least 2 creatures for the next round while she toils away in camp and chops firewood. I'll actually get to some of their abilities in a second. But I just wanted to go through each character board first because you get a little bit more of the art and you can see which type of heroes they all are. So we'll go to the next revealed character. We have the Earth Golem. The Earth Golem is another D12 character like the Barbarian from Swords of the Coin. It is not limited like the Barbarian is. You do not have to exhaust abilities like the Barbarian does to use your abilities. And we have the idea, because of the swinginess of D12 dice, the Golem has this innate ability to have like an Earth Essence or charges that he starts with, where he's able to spend those charges to pip up his dice. So he can sort of like save up power, and then if he rolls really poorly, like 3 1s, he can maybe spend some of that Earth Essence to tick them up for each charge or that he saved up. So that is how he works. And his ability, again, a lot of his abilities trigger off of the number of creatures, that skull symbol you see there. You see down here, where a lot of his abilities trigger off that number. So, of course, his camp ability does as well. Hold on one second. I'm just going to lay out my visuals here a little better. Okay, so let's keep moving through. Again, if you guys have any questions while I'm going along, please let me know. Last but not least, we have the Druid. The Druid is a D6 ranged character. One of the things that you can't see here that's very important to the Druid is that their camp ability is look through the nature deck and choose a card to shuffle into the creature deck. Then you may rearrange the nature deck in any order that you wish. Well, what is the nature deck? It's a brand new thing for Set of Watch Forsaken Isles. When you play the Druid, you have a small deck of cards called the nature deck, which consists of forest creatures, which being a Druid and communing with nature the way you do, are sort of your allies. So you have things like a stag and a beaver and a chipmunk, and you have a different menagerie of creatures in your nature deck. And when you go to camp, all those creatures have beneficial reveal effects in the creature line. So you are able to seed the creature deck with your creatures to make that round easier or a future round easier. You don't quite have control of when it shows up, but you do have, you certainly can. The nature deck has a lot of abilities on each creature card. So by rearranging in any order that you want, you can decrease the randomness of knowing which abilities you're going to trigger in what order. And I'll pop over to the ability cards of some of these heroes, and we can go through stuff pretty quickly. I don't want to take the whole time just showing off all the cards and everything. When there's some other things we can talk about and development stuff we can get into. But I do want to make sure everyone has a good grasp of all the new characters and some of the cool things and new ways that they play. Because I always think that's an interesting and fun thing when you're playing not only Set a Watch but any game. When you've got new player abilities or powers, I always think that's a fun thing. Because whenever I play a game like that, I'm always like, oh, I didn't play the Corsair this time, but I would love to play it. But I definitely want to play it next time because there was some cool stuff they were doing. So the Corsair, Treasure Hunter, passive ability is just to gain a coin each time the Corsair defeats a creature. So this helps you build up your coin deposits to then go shopping with the merchant. Again, we have a brand new item deck for Set a Watch 3 and Forsaken Isles. So there are a couple repeat items that we think are sort of essential, like the scrolls for each item deck, but other than a few cards, all brand new items, and you'll want to use the Corsair and have her defeat some creatures to be able to afford some of those new items. So what else does the Corsair have? We're sort of leaning into the Corsair as sort of a gambler. So she has this ability, Gamble, which is reroll your unspent dice, then deal the total reroll result to a revealed creature in the line. Cutlass, that's reveal a creature and deal its base health to the creature in first or second position. So that's an ability that gives her a little bit of range. We know that being a melee character is sort of inherently worse than a ranged character. So we always want to make sure that melee characters have some abilities that can attack and address creatures in somewhere else besides first position. So the Cutlass, it gives you not only some reveal ability, but also is able to help deal with a multitude of creatures. Fire Cannon, this is actually one of my favorite abilities that the Corsair has. It's defeat the creature at the end of the line, and then you get to peek at a creature. So, we have all these abilities that always attack revealed creatures or first or second position, and other than Animal Sentry from the original Set a Watch, I think this is the only ability. We didn't really cover it in Swords of the Coin, so we're coming back to it. And this is an instant defeat whatever creature's at the end of the line. So it's great to finish that last creature off that's in first position. He's just the one creature left. Or, if you're dealing with a big line in the final location, you can pick off creatures at the end of the line. So it's a fun ability for sure. Pretty strong as well. And then last but not least, the Corsair has Sword Thrust, which is deal the result of your total dice roll as damage to second position. Again, giving her a little bit of reach to address things outside of first position. So next up is Fire Sorceress. Fire Sorceress has Rekindle. This is a way of just to boost up the fire outside of camp. I think this is the first time we've done this. We've had creatures that, of course, hit you and let you decrease fire, but we've never had abilities in camp or during the fight phase. Maybe some items, I guess, and there's probably some abilities I'm forgetting maybe, but obviously all of her Fire Sorceress abilities deal with manipulating the fire, which is fun because all of a sudden you can start around seeing 3 creatures and it can drastically change based on not only what creatures are doing, but also what your party's doing. So Rekindle, you can spend a die and you gain that much firewood. You gain half the value. So if you spend an 8, because she's a DA character, you get 4 firewood. So again, this is a way for her to sort of charge herself up, because you'll notice when we get to her other abilities, it's a lot about expending fire. So once per round, spend as much firewood as you want to deal 4x damage to a revealed creature. So spend 2 firewood, deal 8 damage. That's a passive too, which is nice. Ember Flare is reveal 2 creatures in the line, then gain fire equal to the total damage of the just revealed creatures. So again, another way, depending on what what abilities you have equipped. The Ember Flare lets you charge her up as well. But it's a little more random and based on the creatures you're revealing, but you do get to reveal creatures, which again always helps solve that puzzle. Hi to everyone who's joining us. Thanks for the positive words. I'm glad these characters are sounding interesting to everybody. And I hope I'm not boring you by going through like every ability. If I am, just let me know and we can skip on to creatures or other stuff. But I wasn't sure how active the chat would be and how many questions there would be, so I wanted to make sure I had some stuff just to talk about. So let's get to some of her more damaging abilities. Engulf, defeat the creature in X position where X is equal to the campfire reveal level. Then you lose 3 fire. So again, campfire reveal level is how many creatures you see. It's on that board around the circle and has a skull, 1, 2, or 3. And based on that reveal level, Engulf targets and defeats creatures in that position. Someone is asking, Rakanisha or Nishu is asking, these characters look so cool. Will you be at PAX Unplugged with a demo? We are running media events where we'll be showing off our demo copy of Set a Watch, Forsaken Isles, sort of our prototype and what we've been working on. But I do not know if it will be available to the public. So we'll definitely have a media room where we're going to be looking to get a lot of coverage of the game at PAX Unplugged. But if you want to play some of the new characters, you're going to have to find me or Todd probably and sit down for a Set a Watch demo and ask if you can play a new character. And we may be able to pull it out of our bag and throw them into a demo of Swords of the Coin or Set a Watch or something like that. So last but not least, we have Inferno for the Fire Sorceress, which is deal the current fire value as damage to a revealed creature. So if you're familiar with that firewood circle, it goes all the way up to 15. So if you were to build, kindle and use Ember Flare to build the fire that high, you can then expend it to defeat any creature. Then you lose firewood based on the current campfire reveal level. So if you do build it all the way up to 15 and you use it to take out an hollow, you're going to lose 3 fire. Whereas if you're at a lower fire and you're killing a little creature, you're going to lose like only 1 fire from this ability. So again, a good swing where we're really trying to balance that thing where if you're doing well, higher risk and reward. We're going to punish you a little bit more. Whereas if you're doing poorly and struggling with seeing the campfire or seeing creatures, we don't want to punish you as much. So the cost is a little less. Okay, so moving on to the Earth Golem. Again, D12s, we have Hurl Boulder, which is deal X damage to a revealed creature, where X is equal to the number of creatures of the current location. So, that creature, almost all of the Golem's abilities, as you'll see, trigger off that skull and creature count on each location card. Again, with these new characters, we wanted to make them very specific in each lane. We wanted them each to have like a role and focus on some new mechanics we haven't seen before. So one of the things we've never triggered off of before is the current location creature count that you're at. So all of the Golem's abilities sort of trigger off of that. So the Hurl Boulder is especially good in the final location when you're facing like 9 or 10 creatures, because now all of a sudden he can throw a ranged 9 or 10 direct damage attack. Oh, I should also say, I haven't said this, but it should go without saying that the exact wording of these abilities and exactly what they do are certainly subject to change based on playtesting. I can tell you that Set a Watch, Forsaken Isles, these 4 characters especially, have been playtested pretty robustly. There's a lot of secret characters that we won't be revealing in this stream and may not even be revealing during the Kickstarter. That'll be a secret when you actually get Doomed Run and play through it. Todd wants to keep them a secret, so I don't want to ruin it for him. And we'll figure out exactly what can and can't be revealed during the Kickstarter. But the 4 I'm covering today and sort of in depth, I don't see them changing drastically. Earthquake. This is This is the ability we've had to nerf already. It used to be defeat all of the revealed creatures whose health is less than or equal to the current creature count of the current location. That was way too strong. It was killing 3 or 4 creatures with the right setup. So we had to nerf it a little bit and wanted to scale it accordingly with other abilities. So if you look historically back through Set a Watch and all the abilities, one of the stronger abilities that we've ever had is Chaos Blast with the wizard from the first game, which killed 2 creatures with 1 die activation. You did add another creature, so it's sort of net killing 1, but you can set it up so you're always killing 2 big creatures. And that was always a really popular, cool ability. So we had to nerf this one a little bit and limit it to killing only 2 creatures. Rockfist is deal X plus the creature count of the current location to the creature in first position. So a little bit like Magic Sword, but you do get the X of the die value you place here. So again, D12s, you can't necessarily kill everything in first position like Magic Sword, but with a high die, if you spend a high value dice and get a little boost from the current creature count of the location, you can use it to sort of hit those creatures and deal damage to them right at their threshold, which is always the most advantageous way to spend your dice and things. Rock Shield, this is another good one, just because it's a more defensive ability, which are always sort of unique. Rock Shield is prevent the next summon card or first position creature power from activating this round. So if you use some peak abilities, which you have seen with the Corsair, or if you were to mix this with, say, the Witch from Swords of the Coin, perhaps you will be able to peek and find those summon cards and then activate Rock Shield to prevent that summon from happening. Extremely powerful. Dodging, summon cards are how we scale the game and how we scale difficulty. So blocking them is incredibly powerful. But you have to work to set it up. Last but not least, we have this Earth Essence card, which allows you to redistribute your unspent die values at any time. That's, again, talking about this Earth Essence you store up in yourself to change your dice rolls after you roll them. You can do it at the beginning of the round, but if you have this passive in effect, you can store leftover dice and potentially boost your dice to the exact number you would need to kill something as well. Okay, moving on to the Druid, and then we'll start covering some of the creatures, and I'd like to start talking about Doomed Run, which is what it's really what we're spending most of our time playtesting these days. Again, if you have any questions while I'm going along, please let me know. I love seeing all the excitement in the chat. I agree that playing with the campfire level is a dangerous game. I totally agree with you on that, Chris. So, but for people who play well, the Fire Sorceress is very strong. So it's one of those things: is the cost worth it to you? She certainly can be stronger than other characters if you keep the fire level high, but you can push your luck too much and stumble into a bad situation, of course. So the Druid is all about interacting with their nature deck and the beasts sort of that are contained within. Question from William: does Rock Shield cancel the complete summon effect? Yeah, it completely negates it like it never happened. And then you say, do you have to exhaust an ability? The answer would be no, it completely negates it like it never happened. But I would add that the summon cards for Forsaken Isles are completely different than the traditional exhaust an ability and summon an Unhallowed. And I'll cover that in a moment, as long as you guys remind me. Because the new summon cards for this set are all about gaining Doom. And Doom will be a new place on your camp board. There'll be 3 spots for Doom tokens to be placed. And when you are at 3 Doom, when you get a 4th Doom, bad things happen. That's when an Unhallowed is summoned. And you also add a creature to the horde. So Beast Form is deal X the die value you spend on the card, plus the health of the top card of the nature deck. So you're going to have this nature deck with creatures on top, which all have healths on them. So if your lion is on top, which is one of your stronger beasts, you could combine this with your dice roll and do a really strong direct attack to a revealed creature. Every time you activate an ability of the Druid, the top card of your nature deck cycles to the bottom. So they actually, the multitude of abilities that the Druid had is very high, because it's not only based on the 3 abilities they have equipped out of 5, it's also based on their nature deck and what creature and beast they have on top. So what's up next? Nature's Power. You activate all the creature powers on the top card of the nature deck. So for example, the Chipmunk gains coins, so you could use it to gain coins. And then again, I don't know, do we say this? They all should place, they all will, oh, you know what? The creature cards themselves say place it back in the nature deck. I was like, why doesn't this say place it on the bottom of the nature deck? And it's because every creature power you activate has a reveal effect, because if it's in the line, it can go in the creature line. And then it says, place this card, reveal, do this thing, then place this creature on the bottom of the nature deck. So your beasts always come back to you if you do seed the line with it. So this lets you use the top creature ability, even if it's not in the creature line, and then they pop back to the bottom. Then we have Forest Aid. Once per round, shuffle the top card of the nature deck into the creature deck. So again, this is what I'm talking about, where you can, the lion, for example, when it's revealed, it defeats a creature that it's adjacent to. So it pounces from the darkness and gobbles up one of the creatures in the line. So again, you could spend once per round as a free action, you could take that top card and you could put it in the creature deck, which is then ultimately putting some good cards into that creature deck full of bad cards. So one less card that's a summon, or one less card of a creature you actually have to actually defeat. Instead, you're going to have a friendly forest creature who's going to sort of do a beneficial effect for you. Join me is swap a forest creature in the line with the top card of the horde. Choose another adventurer to recover and reroll a dice. So again, we spend dice, right? And then they're spent and they go on our board. This ability not only lets us take powerful cards out of the horde and thin that horde down and make it easier with forest creatures in it. But it also recovers and rerolls a spent die that you may have spent on a direct attack. So, again, great effect. I see a question from Dingo. I don't get if the nature deck's cards are visible to you or not. They are. They're face up. So they would go right next to your character board. You'd have a little face up deck of about 6 cards with each creature effect on it. The only time they do have the creature back on them, just because you have that passive ability where they can be seeded into the creature deck, and we don't want you to know that that's your card coming up. So they do have a card back to them, so they can be concealed in the creature line. But they are when they're with you in your play area as the druid, they're face up. And then last but not least, we have Nature's Call. Defeat an unrevealed creature and replace it with the top card of the nature deck. So that's a way for you to immediately know what card you're putting into the creature line. So that covers character abilities. I'm going to move on to the Forsaken Isles. We'll go through some of the creatures in Forsaken Isles really quickly. And then I want to start talking about Doombrun. And then we'll wrap it up, of course, with some questions and whatever else. So creature deck. The creatures here are sort of, again, all nautically themed. So, the Rocktopus is just a basic forest creature. Fogshark's also a forest creature, but it has this nasty effect of reducing the creatures revealed by the campfire reveal level by 1. So even if your reveal's at 2, you would only see 1 because it's reduced by 1. But then, of course, you have the Lantern Goblin, who increases the campfire reveal level by 1. So depending on if you have both of these creatures revealed, it doesn't really do anything. They cancel each other out. I see a question about an updated version of the Unhallowed Tree and Druid who can interact with these creatures would be interesting. Wait, that artwork is from Merchants of Magic. Another expansion came early. Yes, so I'm not going to go through the character abilities, but one of the characters in Forsaken Isles will be the merchant from Merchants of Magic, or on the cover of Merchants of Magic. You'll actually be able to play as the merchant. And obviously all of her abilities work around taking items and using items in the market. So she just isn't quite as solid, so I don't want to go through a bunch of abilities that are going to change. But her basic mechanics are that she can equip more items than normal, play with items in the shop, and get discounts on items in camp and things like that. Discard items in the market to deal damage based on their cost, etc. Again, using those numbers in the market sort of as a new mechanic to play off of. All right, so we'll just scan through these. Again, nautical themes. We've got some drowned pirates. These are the undead creatures in this one. The Acolyte is this siren. And again, talking about this doom, you choose an adventure with an exhausted ability to refresh an ability, and then you exhaust a different one, and then you gain 2 doom. So you may exhaust an ability that you don't need as much and get an ability back that would be really helpful in the situation. So she has a slight perk, but she gains 2 doom. And again, when you hit 4 doom, of course, doom resets. And, if you were to get 5 doom, you just restart the counters again. But every time you hit that 4th doom, you summon an Unhallowed, and you add a creature to the horde. And one of the only ways to get rid of doom is to use those doubles in camp to do those rune actions. So for each rune action you do, you can reduce doom by 1. So it adds those particular spots don't build up with coin, but they do have the advantage now of decreasing doom. Ocean Drake, sort of covered in moss. That's our dragon. First position, so he's a little bit of a mix of the old Ember Drake, a little nicer. When he gets to first position, you lose 3 fire. This choose one that's a typo. I should remove that. I'm actually going to write that down right now on my computer. It should just be first position, lose 3 fire. Second position, you gain 1 doom. Cave Cyclops, this is actually a really fun one. You can see from the art, he's sort of scared of fire. So when he's revealed, if the campfire reveal level is greater than 1, meaning if Cave Cyclops isn't the first creature in line with only 1 campfire reveal, he runs to the back of the line because he doesn't like the fire. But he's a bigger creature, bigger giant. Harpy, there's actually 3 harpies in here. They all do slightly different things. This one takes the top harpy in the graveyard and adds it to the end of the line. This one is a first position, take the top harpy in the graveyard and add it to the end of the line. And this harpy is first position, gain 1 doom. And so is this one. So there's actually a lot of harpies in this deck, and they trigger differently. Can respawning each other and potentially gaining a lot of doom. Will-o'-the-Wisp, each very weak. Air Elemental, only 1 damage, only 5 health. But each time you gain doom, you stun an ability. So all of a sudden that combos really well with things like the Siren and some of the other creatures in this deck, where when you're gaining that doom, you're actually stunning and losing dice. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the summon card for this set, the summon cards are, you have a choice. You can either gain 1 doom and exhaust a card, or summon the Unhallowed. So you can do one or the other. You're not always summoning an Unhallowed and exhausting a card. But that decision can be tricky depending on where you're at, what creatures are out, and where your doom is at. This Colossus is old art, so we're getting into that part where this deck isn't quite done. Each time a creature enters the graveyard, gain 1 doom. And the rest of this stuff isn't finished yet, so we won't go into the other creature abilities where the art is still coming in. Okay, here's a couple Unhallowed that we have finished. We've got the Merking. So this set is going to use this symbol as the creature set. So the Merking actually is that there's a creature in front of the Merking from the same set. Then you add creatures equal to the creature's damage to the end of the line. So he can spawn more creatures. So obviously if you have stuff from the nautical theme, you can spawn more nautically themed creatures. Oh, thank you so much. Lord Mitten says, Set a Watch is my all-time favorite series. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I'm glad you're excited for it. We're certainly very excited to bring it to you. This box in particular is very close to being finished. We're waiting on a few pieces of art, but gameplay-wise, we've been working on this for a while, and everything's really solid. Kong, he just gets stronger. He likes to challenge the strongest creature in the line. You can see we've given this giant ape a few extra arms to make him look more formidable. Centipede, I love this artwork with the giant crow. Move giant bird and the creature behind it in the line to first and second position. So he grabs whatever's behind him, and they both fly to the front, which is fun. Here's a Kelpie again, underwater theme. Oh, this Strigor Lord is a really cool piece of art with him climbing up this clock tower. He's sort of a mix of the vampire. He steals the highest spent die and the lowest unspent dice and adds it to his health value. So he's a mix of like some of the vampires we've had in the past. He sort of does a dual die steal. Steals a really high valuable spent die, but then steals an unspent dice, which you could use to activate an ability. More Drew is asking, is this going to be on Kickstarter? Yes, we're anticipating it to be on Kickstarter sometime in February or March. We'll pick a date very soon, certainly before the end of the year, and we'll let you guys know. We do have a webpage where you can sign up. I'm sure it's available from like rockmanorgames.com, or you can find it if you search. But we do have a sign up if you're interested in getting notified when the campaign launches on Kickstarter and you don't want to miss it. So these are some of the unhallowed. Okay, let's talk about Doomed Run. So Doomed Run is going to be part of this next campaign as well. It's going to be our big box storage solution, but it's also going to be it's a campaign, I guess, in the fact that there's your characters are gonna progress as they go through, but we're calling it Doomed Run because it can be replayed. It's 7 realms, and each realm takes approximately 2 hours to play. So to get through Doomed Run takes approximately 14, 15, 20 hours, I guess, depending on your group and how quickly you play. Because when you get to the end of it, whether you win or lose, once you play through everything and unlock everything the first time you play through, you're going to be able to reset it and play through it again. And similarly, if you don't make it through, you can reset it and start up and try again. So it's just a much more epic, continuous version with it introduces a lot of new mechanics as a result. Rakanushi is asking, will there be more suggested monster and unhallowed location builds coming out anytime soon? So I'm talking about Doomed Run, and there's 7 new realms that are taking all the content we have so far, everything from Set a Watch 1, 2, and 3, and the Outriders deck, all the locations from that. We're adding new locations and new monsters with the Doomed Run box, and each realm has a unique location set and monster deck. So yes, we're going to have at least 7 new monster builds, creature deck, location combinations for you to work with. I'm going to take a second to answer a few questions. We've got a few questions coming in. William asks, will it be one big box for everything or a storage system for the 3 separate boxes? Our idea currently, although we are open to suggestions, I have a meeting next week with someone who can design the trays and stuff that go inside the box for us on Monday. So I don't have all the information on that yet. But our idea is to have one full box. We envision you being able to put your 3 games in it, sort of like a bookcase. So you'd be able to slot this in, if I was looking down into the box, it would sit here. You'd have 1, 2, you have Set a Watch 1, Swords of the Coin, and Forsaken Isles. They'd all have a well that could sit in the box. And then we would have some trays and card rows here where you could place all your cards. Obviously, this is going to make it, if this sits in the box, it's as high as this is, and the cards are probably only this high. So we're going to use that extra space to probably have a camp board that isn't attached to a box that you can take out and play with as a separate board. If you don't like using the box fold-out method, you'll have a nice flat board. And then we'll probably have another box, a small tray that goes on top of that sort of stores your campaign state or your doomed run state. That's at least what we're thinking about doing. Again, we don't have anything designed yet. We just have some concepts and things Todd and I are looking for. And we'll work with people who can do AutoCAD and three-dimensional design to help organize that box for us. So let's get to some other questions. I love Xenoshift, super fun, but I love Fantasy Theme more, and you guys really nailed it with Set a Watch and the expansions. Thank you. I'm glad you love Xenoshift. I have never been able to find Xenoshift in stock without paying an insane amount of money for it. So I have not played Xenoshift, but I'm glad it scratches that fantasy itch. Is Doomed Run still playable solo like the other sets? Yes. Doomed Run, just like a normal game of Set a Watch, requires 4 adventurers, and you can control all 4 of those adventurers. You can play 2-player and each play 2 adventurers, or you can play with 4 players and each have your own adventurer to control. Someone noticed the Seas of Havoc artwork, Kraken artwork in the Unhallowed deck. No, we're not planning on using the artwork from Seas of Havoc in Forsaken Isles, but we do have a new short game that's going to be in Forsaken Isles. It's 5 rounds instead of 9 rounds, so it's about half the time of playing a full game of Set a Watch. And in that game mode, you play against a Kraken with tentacles, and there's a tentacle deck. So I just used the Seas of Havoc artwork we had as placeholder to test the short game for the time being. Just make sure the inserts can hold the Kickstarter edition sleeves. Yep, no problem. All the dimensions I sent not only are taking into account the sleeves of these boxes, of the Kickstarter boxes. So again, you'd be able to put your box in with the sleeve on. But we're also, of course, going to do our best to accommodate sleeved cards as well. A nice neoprene board playmat. I think the camp board in the Doomed Run is probably going to be cardboard, just because we actually need the sturdiness of it to sit flat and protect the cards that will be in wells underneath. But of course, we haven't. That's not set in stone. Are there plans to continue the Set a Watch series beyond the trilogy? Chris is asking. I would never say never. So, and Todd would say the same thing, which is, if something sells really well and the fans are out there dying for more characters and more Set a Watch content, we're big fans of stuff as well. And we would never want to deprive fans who really want something. If we had good ideas to feature new content, we would never say never. That being said, we're definitely planning to take a break from Set a Watch after this trilogy. We are definitely looking at this as an epic conclusion to the Set a Watch series. And while we may revisit it with another standalone box or a couple new characters or a new creature deck, something like that, I don't think we'll be delving in and doing anything development intensive as Doomed Run, which is quite development intensive. I was talking about how each Doomed Run takes 14 hours. Todd and I have yet to play through a full one yet because we keep having to restart ourselves with the changes we're making as we're iterating on it. But as you can imagine, there's a lot of work going into that particular box. So Josh is asking, there was talk on the BGG forum about official variant using fewer characters. Is that a possibility? I remember a forum post from a long, long time ago, and I actually took a stab at a variant where you could play with less than 4 characters. I didn't think it was particularly fun, so I never really supported it. I don't think it's something that we're really looking at revisiting. We've got plenty of other work ahead of us, and we've seen over the years that Set a Watch is so popular solo, despite having to control 4 characters, that we don't feel the same need to address the player count as much as we used to. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Doomed Run and what you're doing in it. In Doomed Run, you're going to start in the kingdom, this kingdom that the game takes place in, this fantasy realm. It's an elven kingdom with an elven ruler, and obviously it's hearkening back into the same themes of the original games about taking out the Unhallowed, and these acolytes that are trying to resurrect these big bads back from the dead with these powerful summons, and these enchantments and these summonings that are bringing in these powerful creatures. So in this game, you're going to work for. You start off within the kingdom, and you'll be going to places like the Pine Castle and crossing the Royal Bridge. And the creature deck that the first realm of Doom Run starts with is a completely new creature deck. We call it the Townsfolk deck because it is a bunch of people within the kingdom starting to panic because the word and stories of all these Unhallowed and this cult bringing back these evil powerful bosses is getting out and about. So you have things like the Spooked Horse, who, when is revealed, moves back 2 space in the lines and reveals the creatures in front of it. You have some of these worshippers. You've got this Goblin Supplicant, who is very weak, but if it's adjacent to an acolyte, he sacrifices himself to increase the doom that's coming to the kingdom. We have this cute little carrier dragon. When he gets to first position, it's sort of like a raven from Game of Thrones. Like they carry and take these messages around the kingdom. So when he gets to first position, you increase all of your unspent die values by the campfire reveal level. So he's actually one of the few dragons that's actually good to get to first position, but you still have to kill him off because he's panicking and is untamed as well. We have the torch-wielding mob. You'll notice the art is inverted right and left. That's because it reveals the card in front or behind them. If the card is already revealed, you gain a doom. So depending on which way they're facing, that's the card you reveal. Corrupt guards. When they're in play, they disable all your passive abilities. They just don't work anymore. Sewer Ghoul, this one's really nasty. We actually have to write in. We found a loop last time we played when we were playing with Graveshifter from the first game, which is we can't have a continuous loop where Sewer Ghoul's summoning a Graveshifter with swapping with Sewer Ghoul on top of the graveyard. So Sewer Ghoul will search the graveyard for the undead creature with the lowest base health and add it to the end of the line concealed. So the Sewer Ghoul can resurrect nasty vampires with low health to reveal themselves later in the round and steal your dice. Then we have a Gargoyle. This is actually one of my favorites in this set. Each time a creature is revealed in the line, the Gargoyle moves forward a space, and when it gets to first position, it stuns. So it's neat where if your campfire reveal is really high, or if the Gargoyle is in second position and your campfire is revealed, he moves forward and he actually stuns you. So I really like the way that one works. An Enraged Farmer, he's the giant, obviously. Haunted Highwayman. If there are no conceived creatures in the line, gain 2 doom. So if the Haunted Highwayman shows up near the end of the round, you're in trouble as far as doom goes. Topiary Beasts, when you kill them, you get some fire. They're like enchanted shrubs. So when you can chop them up, sort of like the Trent. And the Acolyte Initiate is the acolyte of this monster set. Again, this acolyte's been designed especially to punch people who are really proficient at the game, and not really punch people while they're down if you're newer. So the reveal is if there are no cards in the horde, gain 1 doom. So if you're a really proficient player who's used Vanquish to skim the horde down and the horde's empty, well, you're going to gain a Doom when this card's revealed. If your horde's been growing a bunch, you don't need to worry about it because you'll have cards in the horde. And first positions gain a Doom. So that is a brand new creature deck that you'll face in the first realm of Doomed Run. And the way Doomed Run works is it's designed to sort of take you through each box of Set a Watch as you go. So it's loosely, when you first play it, you're going to start with the 6 heroes in the retail edition of the first Set a Watch. So you'll start with, the cleric, the warrior, the elf ranger, the beastmaster, the rogue, and the wizard. And then as you play through, and then each realm is broken up into 2 short games effectively and 1 full game. So you're playing sort of two total games each realm, but the first 2 games of each realm are only 4 rounds. So Todd and I when we typically play through a full realm in one sitting, but you could play half of one 4-round game and save your game using we're gonna have downloadable sheets and sort of sheets you can write down and keep track of all your stuff on it. Chris says, love that Acolyte design and mechanic. Thank you so much. I really like the Doom mechanic. Todd came up with it. He's like, I should have come up with this the first time because it's a way for that threat to build without having it just sort of automatically hit you, and he likes giving players agency with the choice on the summon card. But getting back to Doom Run, the way it works is you start with those 6 heroes. You can pick your party of 4 from those original 6 heroes. And then each game, you are able to draw side quests. And I printed some side quests out. I didn't cut them, I'm sorry, but you can see that these first 6 side quests, are all mythic items, which are specific to each character. So I don't know if this is better, or I can actually hop over here and bring it up on my computer as well. How do I turn this off? And just do regular. So these mythic items are some amazing things, and as you play through the game, you're gonna be able to choose. You're gonna be able to choose if you want to go after these mythic items or not. The problem is each of these. Here, I'll switch to my webcam for a second so you can see this a little bigger. These are the side quest cards, and you can see that each of them has, in bold text, something bad that happens when you take the side quest. So to get that Axe of the Dwarves, each location in this game reduces firewood an extra -1. To get the healing staff for the cleric, when you take that side quest and you're like, we're going to try it, we're going to attempt it this game, you're going to have to choose 3 ability cards to immediately exhaust among the adventurers in your party. So every time you do a side quest, there are setbacks. And you're allowed to take as many side quests as you have summon cards in the creature deck. The Doomed Run starts with 2. And then each realm, for each realm you get through where a character does not die, you have to add or upgrade a summon card. So you start with the easier summon cards, the new Doom summon cards, or the stun summon cards. And then if you're playing really well, you're going to have to start mixing in the normal summon cards from the original game, which exhaust a card, or those variant summons from the Kickstarter edition of the game that are really nasty. I'm going to take a second to answer a few questions here. So in Doomed Run, we will fight predetermined monster decks. Yes, for each realm, we have built unique monster decks based on the availability of all the monsters and all the sets. So to play through Doomed Run in its entirety, you are going to need all the content. You'll be able to play through Doomed Run, like the first realm without other boxes. But because we're building monster decks for each realm and they're all unique, and I don't think any of them even reuse creatures. I think all unique creatures for each realm, so 7 creature decks without any repeats. If there are repeats, there are very little. You are going to need all the content to play through Doomed Run in its entirety. Although Doomed Run itself will come with several creature decks in it, new characters, and obviously these mythic items and other content as well. The mythic items themselves, which I'll go back to them. The reason they have a cost on them is because if you have Doomed Run and you want to play with mythic items in a normal game of Set a Watch, you're able to. You would just pick the mythic items for each character that you choose in a game, and you would shuffle that into the item deck. And then when they came out, they're expensive. You have to save up for them. So yes, in Doomed Run, you will fight through 7 predetermined creature decks. We have a few ways to mix it up based on the characters you choose. There are nemesis creatures. So when you finish a realm, there is a creature that follows you associated with each character, each adventurer type. So I remember that the cleric is the sewer ghoul. So if you beat realm 1 with the cleric, in realm 2, the sewer ghoul is going to stick around. And if you play the cleric again, the sewer ghoul is going to stick around. If you play with the knight has a different nemesis creature that follows him. So it's based on who you last played as. So it does mix up the decks a little bit for repeat play. Not only will you play through predetermined creature decks, you will play through predetermined location sets. When you set up a realm, you stack up the 4 cards for the first game, the 4 rounds of the first game as locations. We're going to have a game break card or, take a break card that tells you your game is over with some reminders of what you do at the end of the game that you would stack underneath those 4 cards. And then you would stack the next 4 cards for the second game, put that break card in, and then you'd stack the remaining cards for the final game. And the final game in each realm is the only game that you add the horde to that has a final location. So the horde builds quite largely through the course of effectively 1.5 or 2 games, depending on the realm. Obviously, realm 1 is easier than realm 2, 3, 4, etc. As you play on, it gets harder. Let's go through some more questions here. A predetermined deck. I'm looking forward to this. Will the Kickstarter exclusive characters make an appearance in Doomed Run? Great question. So how do you get new characters? You're starting in Doomed Run. You start with the 6 original characters. At the end of each realm, one of the characters you played as must be the warden of that realm, and you must leave them behind. So you're sort of automatically going to lose a character each realm. They're not permanently dead. If you ever run out of characters and need to call up a warden, you can. But at the end of a game, at the end of a realm, you're going to pick based on who's hurt, what they have, whatever, who's going to stay behind and be the protector of that realm. So you're going to need to replace your party, and your party's going to change as you play. So some of the first quests you may get are these quests to unlock the knight or the bard, the original exclusive card. And then, of course, the Swords of the Coin characters start showing up after that. And again, when you take these side quests, you are going to make that particular game you're playing much harder. So the knight is, at the start of this game, at the top 4 cards of the creature deck to the horde. So that's tough. That's something you're going to be conscious of. You may do that in the first game of a realm, and then you have the knight unlocked, and then you're going to spend the next 2 games before you face the horde in that third game using the vanquish action, hoping for doubles to decrease that horde, because otherwise that final game may be too strong for you. Doomed Run does feature permadeath as well. So when a character is permanently exhausted, for any of you that have played a full game of Set a Watch, the win condition is that at the end of the game, if you've got one of your 4 heroes with a card on exhausted, you've won. That is still true. You still win. The difference is that those 3 characters that are fully exhausted at the end of the game are dead permanently in Doomed Run. And obviously, when you run out of characters and you don't have 4 characters that can continue on, that is when Doomed Run is lost. Will the additional characters like Knight, Bard, Monk, etc. get mythic items too? Yes, every character in the game has a mythic item. Not only all the characters you know and love. I'll switch back over to my webcam. I do have a couple other sheets. So we have mythic items for not only the original game, the original characters, but all of the Swords of the Coin. So here's the Witch's mythic. Here's the Bard's mythic. Here's the Knight's mythic. Here's the Heretic's mythic. Barbarian, Trophy Hunter, Monk, Artificer, Fire Sorceress, Golem, Druid, Merchant. Every character in the game, whether in Set a Watch 1, 2, or 3, or whether it's a brand new unrevealed character in Doomed Run, will get a mythic item. So, we have a few minutes left. My voice is going dry. Are there any final questions before we close out this first stream? I hope this is something everyone's enjoyed. Again, I'm going to do my best in the coming months and next year to stream more regularly and cover not only Set a Watch stuff that's coming into the future, but other games, and try to get on more of a regular streaming schedule or a regular video schedule, whether it's pre-recorded or streamed. So if you like this, please let me know, comment, let me know this is something you want to see in the future. There are other games that I have in and around my office, which are ugly, have no art, and are on, white cards, like prototyping cards, that I want to know and talk about design and development and whether or not that's a game that should make it to Kickstarter or not. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. We try to iterate on the best ones, and those are the ones we try to produce. Question: the quests are in card format, or are they included in a long piece like the merchant shop? They are in card format. The reason is because there's a deck of rewards that are randomized. When you play through it the first time, you'll start with only a limited amount of the rewards, and each realm, as you move through, you'll open up a new envelope with the new rewards and the new quests for that realm. So the first time you play through Doomed Run, it's going to be a more guided experience. But again, we're all about replayability. So the last 8 quests, or the last 6 quests you unlock, the last 6 side quests you unlock when you beat Doomed Run for the first time, are side quests to unlock the first 6 characters. Because when you play Doomed Run New Game Plus, you could pick any 4 characters you wanted to play as, or you could deal out the character cards or the character sheets to pick which 6 you start with. And then you would need side quests to unlock the original characters as well. So, in a future run of Doomed Run, you may not start out with the wizard. You may have to unlock the wizard in Realm 4. Dingo's asking, I don't know if it depends on you or not, but will these get translated in other languages like the base set and Swords of the Coin? We are always open to translating our games. We've actually done a lot of work on our end to streamline that process moving forward. We have people now who are going to help translation partners print alongside us to get the best rates they can, and hopefully order games in other languages in larger quantities. Of course, the struggle has been lately that with inflation and the euro and British pounds weakness to the dollar, a euro is worth 25% less versus the US dollar. That doing translations is getting a little harder. So we're hoping we'll get people. But again, our Kickstarter that we do for this will be for the English-only version. Any other language versions, if you're looking for other language versions, will be up to those partners and their print runs. I doubt that we will have them all lined up before our Kickstarter. It's just way too much work. There's already a lot of work that's gone into it, and we can't wait around for these other companies. It's best if we just handle it ourselves and stay focused on the English language version, which is what we're responsible for. And then if our Kickstarter does really well, great, those partners can talk to our agent, then we'll have all the files ready for them to package up, and they can wait until we're ready to go to print, and they'll have the files without us tinkering with them between Kickstarter and during pre-production, and we won't have misprints and different covers and all these sort of things that we've had in the past, as we've tried to keep all the partners updated as we're going through pre-production, as we're going to print. Okay, guys. I think I've covered all the questions, and hopefully everyone is excited for Doomed Run and set the next thing of Set a Watch. Be sure to follow us on social media. Todd and I are getting together weekly to to play through Doomed Run piece by piece. This week, yesterday actually, we made it through Realm 3, but we had to sacrifice the Beastmaster, who is who was originally my favorite character, and who's still one of my favorite characters from the first set. We had to sacrifice her life in order to unlock the Artificer and get that side quest. Because any side quest at the end of a realm that you don't choose to take on are lost. So, every game you draw 2 new side quests, and then you can pick as many as you want. But at the end of the realm, any that are revealed that you haven't completed are gone. Dustin's asking, is there any ballpark on price point? I think Set of Watch 3 should be in line with our previous Kickstarters. Obviously, with some inflation, it may be a little bit higher, but don't expect anything crazy. I think you're looking at a pledge level under $40 for Forsaken Isles. I do not have a good idea of Doomed Run yet. It will be more than that. It will be more than a normal game. It's in a bigger box and it has more content, more creatures and more locations, and the same amount of characters, plus these mythic items and some of the other cards that you need, like these side quest cards and other components you need to play through the campaign. Not to mention a campaign book and probably some tear-off sheets where you can keep track and save your game. We'll have those to download and print at home as well. They'll be black and white, so they look good whether or not you're using it. So I don't know. I do imagine that Doomed Run will be a little bit more expensive. We always try to pack a lot of value in each box. We don't like to price gouge, but I don't know just because we haven't gotten quotes on it yet. But my guess would be around 50 or 60. Thank you guys so much. And hopefully we'll do this sometime soon. Be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss the next one. Thanks so much for asking all your questions and being excited about the game. Hopefully we can play test or play soon at a convention, or we do have a Discord server, so visit our website and sign up, get in there. It's pretty much a direct line to me and Todd and some of the other people we work with to ask questions, whether they're rules questions or about new stuff. So thanks again, and have a great weekend.